My name's Haris Zambarloukos and I was the director of photography on Murder on the Orient Express. It's a piece of literature that you interpret in a certain way. For us, what was important is the fact that we are embarking on an interpretation of a classic book. We definitely believed as well that we're at a place in time where we could create a really kind of immersive film out of this material. It's a rare opportunity to do a kind of a studio picture with a decent budget that's based on a great piece of literature. This pretty much day one. It was one of the first things that we discussed, and it was the first thing we tackled, and we had many things to tackle on the film. On one hand, a practical aspect of it, and then the other, an aesthetic one as well. Practically scheduling everyone, all these, again, we had this great cast. We had 13 huge kind of actors that had to be coordinated, put together, both on their own and with Poirot, and then as a group. And we certainly weren't going to achieve this on a moving train, for example. It was evident straight away that we would have to base ourselves at Longcross for the duration of both the train journey and the scenes within the train and out of the train. This, I have to say, was a really joint adventure with VFX, that they embraced this as much as kind of everyone else did, cinematography department, production design, etc. When we decided that this was a possibility, we did a very specific test. We found an old train and an old train track in the UK, and we set out with a 65mm film camera, and we set a scene against a window. At the same time, we put an Alexa 65 that shot a plate of the same scene. And we shot for a day that way. And the next day, we set up in the train station, in their kind of yard, a small environment that would replicate a smaller version of what we were trying to achieve, what we hoped we would achieve in the actual film. And that was a train with on a kind of hydraulic lift with LED screens at about, we calculated about 5 meters away from our windows. And what we did on that test is we set to replicate the shot that was made on the moving train as a static shot in a train station, using the footage that we had taken on the Alexa, and it worked really well. So we then set about trying to figure out how this would work over an entire carriage. For the moving train, we used both sides, and we had to not just go the length of the carriages, we actually had to build coves, because we had to create an effect that worked in a multitude of situations. So it was a complicated system to figure out. We used a combination of CAD drawings, etc. We put those in a previs situation and moved cameras around to see where we would see off the screens or onto the floor. That informed us, without having to build the whole set and put the screens up, roughly what our environment was going to be. That was really something special, actually, and more like a location shoot, more like being on a train in the Alps.